Let's begin by telling you that President Bola Tinubu on Tuesday presided over the first Council of State meeting of his administration, which included both physical and virtual participation. Attendees included Vice President Kashim Shettima, Senate President Goodluck, former Presidents Muhammadu Buhari and Goodluck Jonathan, who were physically present, while retired Generals Abdulsalami Abubakar and Yakubu Gowon joined virtually. Also in attendance were state governors, several ministers, and former chief justices of Nigeria. This marks Tinubu's first Council of State meeting since assuming office 14 months ago, and it comes 18 months after the council last convened on February 10, 2023, under former President Buhari. Former presidents were visibly absent, most notably our former President Olusegun Obasanjo, among others. We will return to this story during the course of our news with Amadin Uyi, who will be on standby by then. But in the meantime, we tell you that President Bola Tinubu is set to depart Abuja on Wednesday for a 3-day official visit to Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, at the invitation of President Teodoro Obiang Nguema Basogo. The President's Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, Ajuri Ngalale, confirmed the details of the visit in a statement released on Tuesday. During the visit, Tinubu will hold discussions with President Basogo at the presidential villa in Malabo. Their talks will center on key bilateral issues with a strong emphasis on oil and gas as well as security. Several agreements aimed at enhancing cooperation between Nigeria and Equatorial Guinea in these sectors are expected to be signed. To health-related stories now. President Bola Tinubu has approved the National Policy on Health Workforce Migration, a strategic initiative designed to tackle the insignificant challenges facing Nigeria's healthcare human resources. This announcement was made by the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Muhammadu, who stressed that the policy extends beyond merely reacting to the ongoing exodus of healthcare professionals. According to him, it represents a comprehensive strategy to manage, harness, and ultimately reverse the trend of health worker migration. Partey highlighted that the policy addresses the critical challenges confronting Nigeria's healthcare workforce. He added that as the AU champion for human resources for health and community health delivery partnership, Tinubu's commitment to building a resilient and robust healthcare system is powerfully embodied in this forward-looking initiative. Now, the Gombe State Commissioner of Health, Dr. Abu Dahiru, has announced that the State Public Health Emergency Operations Center has been placed on alert following confirmed and suspected cases of diphtheria in Hawagana ward in Gombe. Diphtheria, which is caused by Corynebacterium diphtheriae, is a vaccine-preventable disease characterized by severe throat and respiratory infections that could lead to death if untreated. Dahiru disclosed that the state has recorded 3 suspected cases and 1 confirmed case of diphtheria. He stressed the availability of vaccines for the prevention of the bacteria, especially for children, at primary health centers across Gombe State, and urged parents and guardians to ensure prompt vaccination of their children to safeguard them from this potential fatal disease. But I'll tell you that the caretaker committee of the All Progressives Congress in Rivers State, led by Chief Tony Okocha, has rejected the judgments delivered by Justice Sika H. Akpeoku of the Rivers State High Court on Monday. The judgment was in response to a suit filed by Sam Etegung challenging the dissolution of the State Working Committee in Rivers State due to alleged anti-party activities during the 2023 general election. According to Chibike Ikenga, Publicity Secretary of the Caretaker Committee, the party had earlier petitioned the Chief Judge of Rivers State to recuse Justice Akpeoku from the case, citing concerns about his impartiality. However, the petition was ignored. Ikenga stated that the matter was not a vacation case, but was adjourned and surprisingly brought back during the vacation period without any urgency or time constraint. The party is questioning the judge's decision to proceed with the case despite their objections. Earlier, we were joined on the news to discuss this by human rights lawyer Henry Ekine and had this to say concerning the issue. Well, we'll bring you details of that in our subsequent stories. Let's take this business-related report now. Nigerian refineries, including the Dangote refinery, have raised their domestic crude requirements for the second half of 2024 to 597,700 barrels per day from 483,000 barrels per day in the first half, the national oil regulator said, despite tight domestic supply. The Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission was only able to help secure 177,777 barrels per day from oil producers in the first 6 months of the year, way below what the refiners had asked for, it said in a statement released. The NUPRC said oil producers could not satisfy the demands because some had operational challenges, while others pledged most of their output to traders who financed drilling. Dangote Refinery has accused the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission of failing to enforce a law that requires oil producers to supply domestic refiners, saying in a statement on Friday that this laxity in enforcement has been raising its operational costs. Earlier, we had Bedford Berefa spokesman, Ijo Youth Council Worldwide, talk on this.
Just a statement of facts. If you see the antecedents recently, as regards to the oil and gas sector, even the former president of this country, our father, our grandfather, Olusegun Obasanjo also he made that very, very explicit even when he was there. The monumental corruption that has endangered the oil sector over the decades is alarming, and the Dangote refinery has come to expose that reality. It bothers the fact that a local refinery is available in the country, yet with the huge amount of food production per day, you will see that the level of low supply to the Dangote refinery is crazy. It is a tale that shouldn't be said. It shouldn't be even come to the public space. It is quite saddening that the monumental corruption that has saddled the NNPC over the years. It is this time it needs to end now.
Now, a federal high court in Abuja has dismissed an application seeking to stop the End Bad Governance protest. Justice Peter Lifu dismissed the ex parte motion filed by 15 Nigerians, including Danladi Goje, Buki Abayomi, and Adiza Abo, who sought to restrain the protesters from continuing their demonstration. The applicants claimed that their fundamental rights would be breached if the protest continued, but the judge ruled that there was no evidence to suggest that the protest would resume since it had already ended last week. Justice Lifu also criticized the applicant's lawyer, Tembele Soka, for failing to provide the required affidavit to support the requests for an interim injunction and submitted service. The respondents in the matter included various organizations and individuals involved in the protest, as well as the Attorney General of the Federation and security agencies. This ruling means that the protest can continue, and the court has refused to grant an interim injunction to stop it. To the northern part of Nigeria now, the Kano Zonal Command of the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons has received 12 rescued victims of human trafficking. The Zonal Commander Abdullahi Babale announced this on Tuesday in Kano while receiving the victims who were rescued by the Kano State Police Command. Babale said the police also arrested 3 suspects in connection with the alleged trafficking. He added that the rescued victims, all female, are aged between 15 and 40. Babale said the suspects will be charged to court upon completion of investigation. Meanwhile, the Kano government has suspended the 24-hour curfew imposed in the state in response to looting and destruction of properties during the End Bad Governance protest. Baba Dantiye, Kano Commissioner for Information and International Affairs, announced the suspension of the curfew during a state broadcast on Monday. On August 1, Abba Yusuf, the governor of Kano, imposed a 24-hour curfew in the state following reports of violence during the protest. The 10-day nationwide protest against bad governance and economic hardship commenced on August 1. And on August 2, the governor relaxed the curfew by 5 hours to enable Muslim worshippers to observe Jummah prayer. The commissioner said the governor lifted the curfew completely due to the satisfactory and improved security situation in the state. Nice to know that you're still there. We now tell you that Nigeria's federal government says that it has concluded plans to begin the production of light ammunition in the country. The Minister of State for Defense, while informing newsmen on activities lined up to mark the 60th year anniversary of the nation's Defense Industry Corporation, says that Nigeria will soon end the purchase of 87.62mm caliber ammunition for the nation's armed forces. He adds that Nigeria is already selling small arms to sister African nations. Amadin Uyi reports.
Many experts believe that a nation is as strong as its military-industrial complex. With Nigeria establishing its Defense Industry Corporation about 60 years ago, Nigeria's government says so much has been achieved by the corporation.
The DICON has established in 1964 and has since been at the forefront of Nigeria's defense manufacturing, contributing significantly to national security and technological advancement. This 60th anniversary marks as a significant milestone in our journey of innovation, resilience, and dedication to the defense need of our nation.
At this briefing to outline activities to mark DICON's 60th year anniversary, officials from Nigeria's defense sector say the industry has grown tremendously and will soon begin the production of certain calibers of ammunition for its security needs.
We are signing an MOU now to begin the production of small ammunitions in Nigeria. I can assure each and every one of us in the next 2 years, Nigeria will not buy 7.62mm caliber weapon ammunition again. Never. Bye-bye to that era.
We assure you that we have that capacity, we have the capability to produce, and as you know, many countries, many African countries now are coming to DICON for the procurement of their arms and ammunition.
They also add that the upcoming two-day conference by DICON will seek to harness innovative talents of young Nigerians.
We have heard of cases in many states in Nigeria where youth are already innovatively making things in the informal sector. And so we don't want these people to get into the wrong hands and this technology. We want to harness them. So that conference has an aspect that is going to cater for this.
They commended efforts at amending the DICON Act, saying the new act will contribute significantly to national development and national productivity. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
And earlier on the news, we told you that President Bola Tinubu presided over the first State Council meeting with former presidents, state governors, and security chiefs, including ministers, in attendance. And I told you earlier that Amadin Uyi has been monitoring that particular meeting and will be bringing us updates. Amadin, good afternoon to you. So if you can hear me, just go ahead and brief us what were the focal points discussed at the State Council meeting and, of course, the importance of that discussion to the country.
Okay, the Council of State meeting is expected to deliberate on national issues, the state of the nation. The key attendees of that meeting are former presidents, where the president gets to brief them on exactly what is ongoing in the nation. The meeting was convened and began a few hours ago, and many believe it will not be unconnected to the End Bad Governance protests, the high cost of goods and services, the inflation being witnessed, and also the demands being muted by the group known as the Patriots, comprising elder statesmen who are calling for restructuring of the current government and a change of the nation's constitution back to the constitution we had at independence, 1960 and 1963. They want this reviewed so that that was the demand of the Patriot. So many believe that this Council of State meeting was called at the instance to consider these issues, where the president will brief them on steps being taken to address current challenges being witnessed. But now, notably, remember that the Nigeria's constitution was recently amended to allow the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives attend the Council of State meeting. So we have on good authority that the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives are in attendance, including governors.
Presidents like Muhammadu Buhari and Goodluck Jonathan, what were their positions, what were their concerns, and what solutions did they profile to all that you've actually mentioned?
Now, we've not gotten total detail of the discussions that have held during the Council of State meeting. But several people were bothered because they did not see some former President Olusegun Obasanjo, former President Ibrahim Babangida, former President Abubakar. They were bothered that Abdulsalami Abubakar, that these were not in attendance. But we got information on good authority that there's also provision that those who cannot attend in person can attend online via Zoom video call from the comfort of their homes. Remember that these are former presidents and a lot of them are aged, and so there is the tendency that they might not be able to attend in person.
But was there any information as to why, most importantly, former President Olusegun Obasanjo and Babangida did not attend? Were there any formal messages communicated as to that?
As of now, no formal message has come out from former President Olusegun Obasanjo's team, notably because in recent times he had criticized some of the policies of the current government, calling for a rethink of current policies and more effort to reduce the hardship. So because he was not at the Council of State meeting, there was a lot of talk in hushed tones. Some believe that it is because he's not happy with the current government. But after the meeting, we'll confirm if he attended virtually.
All right, Muhammadu, thank you so much for sharing this update with us. Let's move on now. Nigeria has called for the support of the countries of Iceland, Sweden, Finland, Norway, and Denmark in its quest to obtain a permanent seat at the United Nations Security Council. This was as ministers from the 5 Nordic countries paid a visit to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Abuja. Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs called for more collaboration with the 5 countries, saying Africa's largest democracy has much to learn from the stability and success of these.
Something also that we're looking to engage, to learn so much from all the countries, because the Nordic region is one that excels in terms of the circular economy. This is something that we feel we can do a lot together. Your triple helix is something also that we're monitoring and admiring from a distance. We want to see how we can benefit from that mutually. And there's several other areas that I think we can delve further into.
And elsewhere, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees and the Borno State government have engaged in high-level discussions aimed at facilitating the repatriation of displaced persons from Cameroon, Chad, and Niger to Nigeria. This was when delegation of the UNHCR visited a Borno State governor at the state's council chamber in Maiduguri. News Central Sumari Karawa completes the report.
With the substantial return of peace in most communities that were hitherto insecure in Borno and the fringes of the Lake Chad, so many displaced persons have been resettled. While constructions are still ongoing in the hinterland communities, the challenge now is that of making the people independent in their quest for survival. Representatives of the United Nations Refugee Agency and the Borno State government have initiated strategic talks to address the complex issue of repatriation from neighboring countries.
Our responsibility, our mandate is to support government in providing protection to refugees, but also to internally displaced persons and to find solutions.
Our main request is one: government has to take ownership. If anybody who does not want the state government to take ownership, then we want to maintain our dignity and convey a message to this organization that we thank you very much, we are okay, and we don't need such interventions.
A paradigm shift towards sustainable development, focusing on rebuilding communities and providing socio-economic support is part of the strategic talks.
The sustainable response goes beyond the initial humanitarian assistance that has been provided. What we have seen here in Borno, but in a number of locations, is the fact that the humanitarian assistance has continued for a long period of time. And because of all the crises that are occurring around the world, we have seen less and less, that we have been able to mobilize less and less of these humanitarian resources, and that has had an impact on populations.
And we have resolved all issues that henceforth we shall work together in synergy. We shall do a joint planning mission, joint monitoring and evaluation mission, so that we shall have value for money on what UNHCR is doing.
This comprehensive strategy aims to not only facilitate a smooth return, but also to support lasting stability and self-sufficiency for the affected populations. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Earlier, we were joined on the news to discuss this by Dr. Musa Usman, a communications expert.
Actually, saying it's not just about repatriating these refugees, bringing them back and then keeping them there, no, but providing opportunities for them to pick up their livelihood in terms of, because most of them were actually fishermen and subsistence agriculturists. The objective is not just to bring them back, but to bring them back, restore their livelihood so that they can eke out a living through what they know how to do best in terms of fishing, in terms of animal husbandry and agriculture. So that in a way, it will help to sustain the development process within the communities. It's not only about bringing them back to rebuild communities and then settling them, but what will they do after they have been resettled? That is the fundamental question. I think that's what the governor is alluding to in terms of these developmental efforts that you mentioned.
Let's tell you that Senegalese Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko has paid a surprise visit to Mali, which recently cemented a breakaway union with the fellow junta-led Sahel nations, namely Niger and Burkina Faso. The trip is Sonko's first official visit to a country belonging to the Confederation of Sahel States, all of which are led by army strongmen who took power in coups. It was set up in July as a rival to the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, a regional bloc to which Senegal belongs. At the meeting with Mali junta chief, Colonel Assimi Goïta, Sonko said Senegal and Mali were united in their realities, but that it requires them to continue to cooperate on all levels. In the south of the continent, Lesotho has seen a rise in hunger among its populace due to severe drought, which has taken its toll on small-scale farmers. The drought, which has been biting countries across southern Africa for months, has left the land barren and bare. Malawi, Namibia, Zambia, and Zimbabwe have also declared disasters as the most severe El Nino-induced drought in a century scorches crops, killing livestock across the region.
And then le palo e isang dimilione tse pedi fela hona gore ke mkgona go mmuso o itseng 700,000 ke batho ba nang le bothata mme hle is really go jwalo.
Yamma ke hlile ke na le letswalo leno la hore ka nako e nngwe go ka etsala ba go bale ba sa ha maemo a ntse a tswela pele ka ona mokgwa ona o ka etsala ba robale ba sa goba o sontse go na le gore a yang sekolong o santse a na le gore a tsa.
In East Africa, Tanzanian opposition leader Tundu Lissu and others were released on bail after holding them for hours to thwart their rally. The Chadema leaders were arrested in the southwestern city of Mbeya, where the party was due to hold a rally on Monday to mark International Youth Day. Chadema's Director of Communications and Foreign Affairs said that around 500 youth supporters had also been arrested by police as they were making their way to the Mbeya gathering and were being escorted back home. Tanzanian police had announced a ban on the Chadema youth gathering, accusing the party of planning violent demonstrations. Meanwhile, senior leaders of Tanzania's main opposition party, Chadema, including Chairman Freeman Mbowe and Deputy Tundu Lissu, have been released on bail after being detained ahead of a youth rally. According to reports, about 520 people were arrested nationwide to prevent the party from holding a parade in Mbeya. While some remain in custody for not meeting bail conditions, the arrests have sparked concerns about a return to the repressive tactics seen under former presidents John Magufuli, despite current President Samia Suluhu Hassan's efforts to restore political freedoms. The police claimed that the rally was banned to prevent violence. Elsewhere, United Nations Secretary-General António Guterres has called for Africa to be granted a permanent seat on the UN Security Council as part of reforms addressing historical injustices. He highlighted that the Council's composition, dominated by its 5 permanent members, namely China, France, Russia, the UK, and the US, remains outdated, reflecting a post-World War II era when much of Africa was under colonial rule. Guterres noted that while the world has changed significantly since 1945, the Council has not kept pace, despite minor adjustments. The African Union has long advocated the 2 permanent and 2 additional non-permanent seats for Africa to better represent the continent's global role. Now, African leaders will be meeting in the Chinese province of Hunan in September to deliberate on fostering closer and mutually beneficial economic relationship with China. The meeting, which falls under the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, is organized by the China-Africa Economic and Trade Council. A team of Nigerian journalists visited the headquarters of the council in Hunan in China, and we will bring you, we have more on this story in the next report anyway.
The team was received by some top officials of the council before the delegation was led to the exhibition hall that traces development of the relationship between China and Africa. Hunan province, with a population of about 70 million, is located in central China. Its trade with Africa grew with 23.1% in 2022 to 55.67 billion yuan, an equivalent of $7.8 billion in 2023. Chairman of the China-Africa Economic and Trade Promotion Council says the purpose is to create a community of shared future for mankind.
General proposal for establishing the China-Africa Economic and Trade In-Depth Cooperation Pilot Zone is part of the China's promoting the community with a shared future for mankind. This is part of this initiative. And because economic and trade cooperation serves as a fundamental benchmark or fundamental thing for boosting the bilateral cooperation of countries. And under the community with a shared future for mankind, it will not only boost the economic development of African countries, but also will improve the livelihood of the African people.
He highlighted that China is committed to supporting African countries more in the manufacturing sector, an area it holds high comparative advantage over the nations.
The manufacturing industry is not well functioned or well developed in African countries, and you want to create more jobs, you want to do the local production. So these issues has already occurred during the bilateral cooperation, and we hope under the guidance of the general proposal, we can solve these issues for boosting more efficient economic and trade cooperation.
A member of the delegation raised a concern on the trade bottleneck between Africa and China, as transactions cannot be completed without a currency broker, which the US dollar has become. In response, Mr. Xiangping explained that the currency swap deal between Nigeria and China, signed in 2018, is still being considered for implementation after initial delay due to poor understanding of the value. Now this meeting has ended. Next is the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation holding in September. Leaders of the 54 countries in Africa are expected to converge on Hunan to deliberate on enhancing the shared value of the blocs.
Away from the shores of Africa, we tell you that former U.S. President Donald Trump has run through his checklist of conspiracy theories in a rambling conversation with his uber-wealthy supporter Elon Musk that was initially derailed by what the tech titan said was a technical glitch. During a very biased discussion on X, Trump expressed his fears of an impending zombie apocalypse due to immigration. He called President Joe Biden some derogatory words on multiple occasions and discussed creating a new missile defense system that would be modeled after the one that protects Israel. The Republican standard-bearer also dismissed climate change, whose sea level rises, he said, would simply create more real estate opportunities.
At the top, I know President Xi, I know Kim Jong-un of North Korea, I know every one of them. And let me tell you, people will say, oh, this is terrible. He said, I'm not saying anything good or bad. They're at the top of their game. They're tough. They're smart.
Well, for more on this, I'm joined by our international correspondent, Afia Hagen. Afia, what were the main points of conversation in that exchange between Donald Trump and Elon Musk?
Well, you're absolutely right in saying it was a rambling conversation. I think the main thing that we got across was that Elon Musk has completely endorsed Donald Trump. He said on the chat that previously he was in the center of politics or to the center left, but now he wants undecided voters to vote for Donald Trump. Donald Trump spoke about Kamala Harris. He said that she was third-rate, incompetent, and a radical left lunatic. He also said that Joe Biden was forced to withdraw from the presidential campaign because of a coup. He went on to talk about crime, saying that the crime rate in America was through the roof. Now, if you fact check this, you'll find out actually violent crime and property crime dropped significantly in 2023 and into the first quarter of 2024. You talked there about global warming and sea levels. Now, Donald Trump has argued that the threat of nuclear war is far more important than the threat posed by climate change. Kind of ironic when you're talking to Elon Musk, who has pioneered electric cars through his company Tesla. He, of course, repeated his big lie about the legitimacy of the 2020 election, that the election was stolen from him, and that his opponents are just trying to persecute him through the courts, even though he has done nothing wrong. He also talked about Ukraine and said that European countries are not pulling their weight when it comes to giving aid to Ukraine to fight the war against Russia. That was another claim that could be fact-checked. European countries have committed and provided more aid to the Ukraine than the US had. So absolutely a rambling chat. Not a lot of it was fact-checked in real time quite clearly.
It's quite interesting that we see that some of the responses of Donald Trump have been subjective in this conversation. But then what has been the reaction of his take on the platform X?
Well, lots of people are saying how chaotic this is. Like, Donald Trump was banned from X under its previous ownership in 2021. Now, he had, pledged this or slated this as his return to X, but the first 40 minutes of this chat were marred by technical difficulties. Now, Elon Musk has said that's because there was a bug attack, there was a cyber attack, but actually a lot of tech experts saying that actually the X platform just doesn't have the engineering capabilities to be able to cope with the amount of people who were actually trying to log into this space. About 1 million or 1.5 million people watching in real time as that chat went along or listening in real time, and about 1 billion impressions across the platform as people talked about it or shared it as well. Now, Kamala Harris has said that her account tweeted yesterday Trump's entire campaign is in service of people like Elon Musk and himself, self-obsessed rich guys who cannot run a live stream in the year 2024. A lot of people also were commenting on how Donald Trump sounded in that live stream, that perhaps he had a lisp or he was slurring his words, but that again could have been down to those technical difficulties.
So how do you think this will actually affect Trump's presidential campaign moving forward?
Well, at the moment, Donald Trump is on a back foot and he's trying to regroup and re-energize his campaign, because his campaign was originally about going up against Joe Biden, who he had said was too old to run, that wasn't mentally competent, and that it was against a Democratic Party that were divided. But now you have a party that's unified around a younger female candidate of color, and that's not what Donald Trump and his advisors were expecting. So he was using this opportunity to reach out to voters, perhaps younger voters, perhaps people that have been disengaged with politics before, on a platform that was familiar to them, to try and get those people.
Okay, Afia Igan, thank you so much for giving us the update. We'll continue to keep tabs with you to get more reaction. Thank you once again. Talking business now, Kenya's main aviation union said it would call a strike from next Monday over a proposed deal with an Indian company to develop the country's biggest airport. Industrial action that could cause a major disruption in the East African travel hub. The Kenya Aviation Workers Union, which represents airport workers, said the proposed agreement announced last month with India's Adani Airport Holdings would lead to job losses and bring in non-Kenyan workers. The government, however, said the airport is not for sale and that no decision had been made on whether to proceed with what it called a proposed public-private partnership to upgrade the hub. On Business Edge, Sean Mendes gave an overview of the whole situation.
Late last year, so I think around November last year, the government of Kenya had said that they are looking, to develop a PPP for the improvements at Nairobi Airport, and evidently, in March of 2024, Adani Airports, which is a major airport management company from India, this is not a special purpose vehicle or some unknown people. They are a major airport operator, submitted a proposal to the government of Kenya. This has now become controversial in the last few weeks, as it appears that the Kenyan government is leaning towards selecting Adani as a proposed partner. But the terms of this deal and anything else with that has not been officially released. There's a lot of rumors floating around, and obviously, workers have a fear that this might lead to job losses or, change of working conditions for them, which is something they're looking to preemptively head off by threatening a strike at this point. So, right now we don't really know what exactly is happening, but the little bits and pieces of information that have come out there is something that the workers' union is not happy with.
In sports, the Minister of Youth and Sports in Ghana, Honorable Mustafa Usif, visited the Black Princesses before their departure to the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup in Colombia. Ghana, making its 7th consecutive World Cup appearance, has yet to advance past the group stage. Usif, alongside the GFA President urged the team to make the country proud. He assured them of full government support and highlighted the importance of the representation, stating they carry the hopes of over 30 million Ghanaians. Usif emphasized that the team's performance would reflect national pride and promised logistical and financial backing. He concluded by expressing his hope to welcome the team back with the trophy. Away from that, Manchester City's Erling Haaland, Phil Foden and Rodri have been nominated for the PFA Player of the Year award. Haaland, aiming for a second consecutive win, netted 38 goals last season as City secured a fourth straight Premier League title. He previously won the award following City's treble in 2022 and 2023. Rodri played a crucial role in City's midfield and helped Spain win Euro 2024, while Foden scored 27 goals for the team. Also nominated are Chelsea's Cole Palmer, Arsenal's Martin Odegaard and Aston Villa's Oli Watkins. The women's award nominees include Chelsea's Niamh Charles, Erin Cuthbert and Lauren James, along with Manchester City's Yue Hasegawa, Lauren Hemp and Khadija Shaw. Winners will be revealed at the PFA Awards in Manchester on August 20. And that's all at this hour. But before we go, we look at the top stories again. President Tinubu holds first Council of State meeting since assuming office, with former President Obasanjo visibly absent. Hunger cases on the rise as drought impacts on farmers in Lesotho. UN Secretary-General António Guterres advocates permanent Security Council seat for Africa. You can send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number and email on your screen. You can also follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch us live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Arvo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekan Onabanjo.